Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Sign Your Own Permission Slip podcast. I'm your host, Anna Fishman. We have a very special guest today. Her name is Dana Cooper, and we actually traveled together. Dana is one of my clients who traveled to Scotland with us. I know we talk a lot about Italy, and my heart is in Italy, but I also very, very much love Scotland and UK and all of that Northern European charm. So, Dana, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today.
Honored to be on. Thank you for including me.
And I'm laughing, but also like totally understanding where you're coming from. When yesterday we tried to figure out what are we going to talk about, like sign your own permission slip, and you said, and I will preface, I did ask if I can share this,
Yes, absolutely.
and I you said like something along the lines like I'm still struggling with that permission slip. So we can totally call today's podcast "Sign Your Own Permission Slip" or not. Open parentheses, work in
Trying, trying
progress.
to sign your own permission slip.
Trying. No,
Baby steps getting there.
absolutely. And I would love to hear from you, like what what do you mean by that? And where is that coming from?
So, you graduate from college, you start working, you have children, you get stuck in the role of you're on your way to adulthood and right, and you get busy in your day to day. Um, and I never really had that opportunity to my honeymoon maybe and things like that, but to really travel and explore and see the world. And I love history. I so Europe calls to me. There's so much history and things that I want to learn. I dive myself into books for many, many years to learn about, history and cultures and different people. And I think that was part of my pull to Scotland was through the Outlander books. And I read all of those. So, it's you build your career, you build your family. And then it was like, okay, I want to travel. I want to see the world. I want to go to these places. So I think that I started thinking about it, but I'm like, I'm a realtor. I have a business partner. We have a very successful real estate company, Cooper Glass Homes in Michigan. And it's, we work, 12-hour days, 7 days a week, and there's no day off. And that's hard to leave. It's hard to leave my business partner holding down the fort. It's hard to leave my husband, the dog. My kids are now grown, they're in their 20s, but it's still hard. So I think for me, one of my first steps into saying, okay, sign my own permission slip was when I found your website and I saw an itinerary for Scotland based on Outlander. I said, this is calling to me. This is everything that I want to do. And right up my alley, my husband and I had talked about going to Scotland for my 50th birthday, but COVID happened and we postponed it. And then lo and behold, I see your itinerary for Scotland that spoke to me in my core. And I said to my husband, I did my interview call with you because I wasn't sure. I was like, is this real? Who is this? Are there going to be real people? Like, who am I going to be with? Because it was, a small group women's trip of people I didn't know, which was a little leap of faith and scary as well. And I said to my husband, I know we talked about doing this trip together, but you don't know Outlander, you don't have the same interest, you're going to be bored after the first castle. I'm like, and I just want to see these things. I'm like, I want to go and explore this. That was my first, I think, permission. I said, and I was nervous. I was nervous to tell him. I was nervous to tell my business partner, I'm going away for 10 days. I'm going off on my own with people I don't know. But that was like my first step, and it was great. It was a fabulous trip with great women. And then I also went to Italy with my sister-in-law, who my nephew was studying abroad in Milan. So we planned a whole trip together where, we started in Rome and went up to, he was in Milan. So that was an amazing experience and really started, you know, Europe in my veins and wanting to travel and see more of the world. So I'm slowly getting there. I also did a women's trip through the Jewish Women's Philanthropy in Detroit, of a civil rights trip in the United States, and went down south, and that was for a couple days. And that was a fabulous opportunity with a bus load of local women in Detroit. And that was fabulous. So I say I'm getting there. I'm doing steps. But it's hard. It's hard, it's hard financially, and it's hard to take a big chunk of time and be away.
Yeah.
A lot
That's
of people have aging parents, that I take care of responsibility wise. So there's a lot involved.
Yeah, no, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I meant to say that, but you are doing it. It's you are giving yourself that permission. Even the thought in your head, I want to do this and I'm going to make it happen. That's that permission slip.
Yeah.
Because if you don't tell, because if like when I meet someone and they say, "Oh, one day I'm gonna go to Italy," or one day, like, and they start giving me all the excuses why they can't go, I know they
Right.
will never go. They will never go to Scotland or anywhere else that they want to go because they don't really want that much. Like
Mhm.
their mind isn't stuck in like all the excuses. Oh, I can't take time off work. Oh, I have kids. Or like we don't live in a vacuum. You have parents and kids and work and business and partner. Like but you made it a priority. You gave yourself permission that you want to do this, that you will do this, and you made it work. And you came back home, the business was still running, the kids were still around, like the world didn't fall apart. And I know it's hard for us because we're like, well, if we're away.
Right, right. I'd love to
Everyone-
be able to say I could do this once a year, but that's where my goal is. I would like to really be able to do something once a year, have something to look forward to
Yeah,
and do it. Whether it's, maybe it is like, and we may go to Spain this summer with my husband because my son may be doing an internship in Spain. So as long as I have one big trip to look forward to and to fill that itch.
yeah,
But it's
absolutely.
it's hard to get there. But that's my goal.
And that's a great goal. And having those little or not little kind of like milestones or things to look forward, like, well, now you're even like thinking differently. Maybe before you wouldn't even think about going to Spain with you because your son is studying there. But now that
Right,
you've traveled a little bit, you kind of like your perspective changes, your priorities change. And
right,
yes, it's expensive, but I always tell my clients, put away $20 a day, you
right.
know? Just like take the $20. It's not, you're not gonna feel it. You just like reshuffle the cash, but at the end of the year, you're gonna have 70 to $100. That's plenty to go on a trip.
Yeah, and what I'm kind of doing which is helping me to justify a little bit is, I have one credit card that I put everything on. That's my Delta, card, and I earn the miles so
Yeah,
that at least because the flights are expensive.
yeah,
So if I can at least do my flight, and have that be covered with maybe, more comfortable seat,
yeah.
and that's helping to justify the trip and as far as the cost a little bit.
And that's very smart. And that's another thing that you're doing as giving yourself permission because if travel wasn't a priority, if that wasn't something that you really wanted to do, or you're like, oh, that's for other people, that's like, if you didn't even like allow travel as a want in your head, you would never care about the travel credit card, the miles. You would not like look at
Right.
even
True.
because people that give me all the excuses why they can't go, they haven't done any research. There's so many tools. Like I live and breathe credit card points because I travel a lot and I cannot afford to pay for all my flights. But my credit
Right.
card points pay for all my flights for like years.
Right.
And people are like, oh,
Right.
you're so lucky. No, I'm not lucky. I am hardworking. Like it's the points don't just like fall on my plate. Like I have to do the research, find the credit card, open it, then like manage all of their like the spend, like like all oh, it's so much work, people tell me. Yeah, but so is other things. But you have to do some kind of work. It's just not gonna like magically appear, right? Like
That should be a side hustle for you, Anna. You teach us everything you learned on which credit cards and which things are the best. Another
it,
side hustle for you because you don't have enough on your plate.
right? I love this. I'm gonna give a shout out to Frequent Miler podcast. Like that's where I get all my intel, and they have an amazing newsletter that sometimes even comes out several times a day because they may like see like some promotion or deal or something that like it's hot, or like they may see a good availability for like business class tickets on a route that usually doesn't have available. So they'll send a quick email. Um, it's a whole like business. They have a team of five, and they
Good to know.
have connections with the credit card, so like they know and they do this deep analysis. I could never do that. I was just like it's just like not enough in me. But because I know
Partners.
travel is the priority in my life, I prioritize spending time on that because I want to be able to go on trips. And when people tell me like, oh, one day, no, unless you prioritize, unless you tell yourself this is what I want to do. It's like I say, oh, one day I'm gonna go to the gym. No, I'm not gonna go to the gym.
Right.
Unless I get a membership, unless I research like what are, do like some trial classes, unless I buy sneakers, buy leggings, like what I'm not just gonna wake up one day and be like, yeah, I'm gonna go to the gym today. Like you're not gonna wake up and be like, yeah, I'm gonna go to Scotland today. No, like it takes work. It
It
takes,
does. It
and it's
does.
much easier to say, oh, you know, I don't have the money, I don't have the time, whatever. It's much easier to come up with an excuse than actually put in the work and figure out how do I leave for 10 days? Who's gonna feed the dog? How's my business partner going to do it, right?
Right. Right.
And what did your family and your business partner like when you told them like you're doing this? Like what was their reaction?
I think my husband was a little surprised. Everybody's like, when I told him I was doing the trip, they're like, wait, you're going on a trip yourself with people you don't know? And to me, I kind of, that was exciting. That was part of the excitement of it. It was meeting new people and experiencing something different. I was a little nervous about who would be on the trip and would we all fit in? And like you and Anna and you and I talked, it was, post October 7th. And, the world was a little crazy. And was I going to mesh? Were people not going to like me because I was Jewish? Were they right? And you and I talked about that. We realized we were both Jewish on our initial interview together, and that was comforting to me.
Yeah,
You know, so
absolutely.
so yeah, so my family I think thought, wow, good for you, but surprised. But I think my friends and everybody was like, wow, that's really cool. And then I told them all about your small group trips.
That's amazing. And by doing that, I'm sure you've inspired other people directly or indirectly. Like maybe you made your business partners think like, oh, maybe I should take some time off too. And
Right. Right.
trip or no trip, or do something that she enjoys doing. But our actions inspire other people. People are looking at us, even like when we may not realize. Like I mentioned that I saw this poster that said, your today is somebody else's dream. And like it stopped me in my tracks. It was on the wall of my acupuncture doctor office. And I was like, that is so true because I have the freedom to take an hour off and to go to acupuncture, and I have a freedom to go and build this business to the best of my ability and travel. And I have a like I live in the world where my voice is allowed to be heard. Like I, as a woman, can have a conversation with another woman and share about our beliefs and talk about our religious backgrounds, and talk about our businesses and kids, and we have the freedoms to do that. And there's so many women in the world who don't have the freedoms to do that. I almost feel like it's an obligation to
Mhm.
come and speak and share our, yes, it's still challenges, it's still uphill battle because we're living life, right? Like things don't just fall on the plate. But other people may not be even that far along where we are. So I really hope that like someone who's watching, that's my goal for every episode. If one person, like when I look at the episodes and like I have 13 views, I'm like, oh no, it's only 13 views. No, I'm like, wow, it's 13 people who listened to what I had to say.
Yeah.
And if I
It's a
inspired
start.
at least one,
Mhm. Absolutely. And we can even you inspired me, so there we go. You got your one. And each time you somebody
yeah,
hears or sees something, it lights something in somebody.
yeah. Absolutely. And I try to be as inclusive as I can on these trips.
Mm.
And we happen to be Jewish, so we connected on that. I think I posted something after October 7th and you emailed me and we
Mhm.
started a conversation. But I want to just make it clear to everyone, you don't have to be Jewish to come on the trip. Like we welcome anyone, Christian, Muslim, Hindu. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what sexual orientation you are. I don't care what you believe in. I just ask you to treat the person sitting next to you as another human being.
And that was what, you didn't know. I didn't know what to expect, right? So before I met with you and talked with you and the ladies on the trip were all, everybody was different, but it was lovely and it was so nice to,
Yeah.
you know, everybody gelled well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's not always we have a great chemistry. Our Scotland trip, we had amazing chemistry with everyone, with our guide and with the ladies on the trip, and we had so many laughs. Oh my God, I think I had like my non-visible abs under my layers of fat were like hurting after laughing so much. Um, so it definitely nice to have that kind of chemistry. It's very hard for me to know if we will get the chemistry or not. I do talk to every single person before.
Mm.
Um, but knowing how everyone else is going to gel together but it is very difficult. But when it comes to being inclusive, when it comes to like I just tell people bring your own humanity, like just treat the person next to you like you want to be treated. I don't want to hear anything about politics. I don't want to hear anything
You
about
say, right? That was, that also was a, you
it's
know,
we live in a crazy world. There's so many things. And at the end of the day, we're still humans. Like we can't like even though I tell, put on your rose-colored glasses when you go on a trip and leave all the politics and everything at home. We cannot like we don't exist in a vacuum. We still have our past, we still have our heritage, we still have our experiences. So you and I ended up having one night, we're sitting at dinner and just having really heart-to-heart conversations about Israel, about being moms, about like all the things. And that's totally fine. That's what we want. Like we want people to create these connections on these trips. So then like they come home and they know like they have maybe another new friend that they can talk to. So I will never stop a conversation like that. But if I feel there's some kind of, polar opposites or animosity or anything, like we have tools to to put in place to make sure that we can diffuse the
I
situation.
remember you saying something about there's nothing champagne and chocolate won't
Champagne and
cure.
chocolate. Yeah. Champagne and chocolate covered strawberries one solve. Yeah. So
Yeah.
so trips is definitely a big permission slip. It takes a lot of time, effort, coordination, money from both the person who's coming on the trip and obviously from the company. But have you noticed in yourself any other changes since you came back from the trip? Like, have you been giving yourself smaller permission slips to do other things that maybe you have not been doing before?
That's a good question. I mean, I over the last several years, I do Pilates a couple times a year, so that's something that I'm doing for myself to make myself healthier and stronger, so that I can travel as an older lady well into my 70s and 80s in the future and stay strong and be able to keep traveling. So taking care of myself, is something that I'm also trying to give myself permission for. What's hard to carve that out in my day as well. So I get 2 days a week where I have an hour that I dedicate to that. But baby steps like that too, and it
Yeah,
and it's just you only have so much time, and there's only one of you. So
yeah, yeah, and and give yourself credit for doing that because 2 hours a day or 2 hours a week that you're
a
doing this. Yeah,
week.
I understand. Sorry, I misspoke. 2 hours
Yeah,
a week, that's 2 hours more than before, right? That 2 hours that you didn't give yourself the permission
right,
to.
right.
And your body will thank you later. Like I've been doing Pilates for a year now, and I also go like once, twice a week. And I was like, oh, I'm not losing any weight. So like right away, I'm looking at the negatives. I'm like, I'm not losing any weight. This is costing me money. This is taking time away. But I've noticed I'm not as winded as when I'm doing the exercises. It's
Right.
easier for me. I'm like, oh, so this is working. It's not always like you look in the mirror and you see the difference. But I'm like, so maybe like this is worth the investment of the time.
Absolutely. You have to take care of yourself, to be able to do the things we'd like to do in our future and to be there for your family, right? Yeah, healthy you is a stronger you,
Yeah. Yeah, we
a
both
present
want
for your
to
family.
we want to be there for our kids, right? Like I want to grow into my late years so I can have grandkids, so I can travel with them, like do all the things. I have the hugest FOMO, like I feel like a fear of missing out. That's my driving factor. Like there's so much that I want to see and do, and I feel like life goes by so fast that like we need to prioritize and do it. Um, but that's just kind of like how I look at things. Dan, I wanted to ask you one more question. What was, and sorry for putting you on the spot, we did not discuss this before.
Oh.
No, it's nothing crazy. But I just thought of it. I'm like, what was the most surprising thing about the group trip that you took with us in Scotland? Like what was like for you like, oh wow, kind of like expect that or some.
Huh. The most surprising thing, I mean, I think the trip was everything I hoped it would be.
Okay.
Um, I think that
You were
yeah,
pleasantly surprised that you were that
yeah, it was
disappointed.
everything I hoped. I was, I guess, just the biggest surprise was in myself that I did it.
Yeah, that you did sign that permission slip.
Yeah, yeah,
So it may be a work in progress. It may be baby steps, but give yourself credit for doing that because I know so many women who say things that they will do, who say that, yeah, I want to go, I will go, uh, and they come up with all the excuses
yeah.
and things like why not to do it. And you did pull that trigger. You did make it work.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And I will do another trip one day with you too. I'm still
Yes.
waiting for you to do an England trip.
This morning I got a draft itinerary for that, for castles and gardens for next year.
Talk about castles and gardens. That's the one I'll have to be on it with you.
I can't wait. It's going to be so much fun. Dana, before I let you go, I know we both have crazy lives to get back to and run businesses and feed the kids and do all the things. Is there one thing that you can advise women who may be in the same boat as you were a year ago when they kind of like were wanted to go on a trip but were a little bit nervous or a lot nervous, like I didn't know where to begin. Like, is there one thing that you can give them an inspiration and advice?
I think just do it. Just plan it. Just pick an idea, and whether it's with your partner, a trip with, like-minded women on something that interests you. I think find something that interests you, I guess is the first thing. If there's a book you read and you want to go see that place, or you're inspired by food, and it's whatever it is that speaks to you, plan something and take the time out to just do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't wait. Tomorrow's not guaranteed for anyone, so just like pull
For
the
sure.
trigger. Pull
That's
the
for sure.
trigger. Well,
Right.
Dana, thank you so much for doing this with us. It's been a pleasure. It was so good seeing you again. And guys, thank you and stay
Garden.
tuned.
I'm excited. Our castles and gardens. It's great.